right? I mean,
I'm here. Find me.
yeah, okay. No.
Not the young.
That was so.
Or the old forts.
I know, but it was so fucking powerful. Thanks, man.
Okay, here we go.
Part of the prep was coming to Abel's apartment every night around 10 or so. I think I would come over and I would put in videos that I was thinking about or wanted you to look at. I would just sit in your room. You would go off and do things. You didn't mind having me there. And I worked at your apartment. I don't know if you remember, but I went there every night and worked there. And part of the night thing, I mean, I'm a night owl anyway, but walking home New York like at 2 in the morning, that was part of the prep, you know, feeling that night life. Pixies, some of the Pixies songs, Debaser was a song I would listen to a lot. You know, I was going out with Mike Imperioli, and Mike loved that energy and was with me. You know, we'd walk around New York at night and think about the addiction and think about, you know, I would share with Mike remember when I found the movie about the lions killing the wildebeest, and it reminded me of the last scene in the movie, just that animalistic kind of carnivore feeling, you know, kind of that natural element where in the natural world it's neutral. It's not a good or bad thing. It just is. There's not a judgment to it, that the predator is eating the prey, and there's no point of view from predator or prey. It just is. And it had that feeling, that last scene of it just is. It just...
Hit a slate, please. Sec for... Just clap your hands. All right, so what about the cast?
When I came to New York in '88 and I was working at the Public, that was my first play in New York, Walken was doing Coriolanus, and we would all share the same green room. And my theater was down below, Walken's was above. There was a lot of drumming in his. Anyway, I got to see Coriolanus many times, and I got to be around Walken as he was preparing, you know. So that was my first experience with him. I'd already loved his work as an actor anyway. So I got to see, I mean, first of all, I think he does classics the best. I think he does classics the best out of most anybody, actually. And one of the reasons why is I think the instinct that he has, it's his unique point of view. I mean, it's his authenticity. It's his, and there's some authenticity has been on my mind lately, how important it is. And he's got it.
And how do you define that?
Well, I'm not sure, but I do know that if you connect to your truth, to your authentic truth, that it becomes universal. By getting into the specificity of your truth, it almost becomes universal. It's this really deep thing that happens, you know? And you'd think almost by getting so specific to you, you would be getting narrower so that it doesn't connect everybody. But by going into the specifics of your truth, it becomes universal. It becomes so deep, it connects to the whole root system or something, to everybody. Anyway, he's got it. He's got it.
There's a sound man, everybody. We're going to come.
Yeah, maybe you want to back, you got your stuff in the back?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Why don't you back down here and we'll go in here.
Okay. All right.
3, 6, 4. No. No, you know, no, nothing. The thing is, you know, you get, what do they say? They say actors don't retire, they get retired. The phone stops ringing, you know. You know, to find parts for people, you know, when they get into their 70s, it's, you know, you're going to be somebody's grandfather or, you know, their uncle, or it's got to be certain things, you know. I never was the lover, never, but especially now.
You'd be awesome. You could play like 600,000 Shades of Grey.
No, but I never played the romantic stuff. Yeah, well, I always say to my wife, this is my sanitarium, you know, this is my, so it could be, you know, just a sanitarium. Place where you come to get better, you know. I thought it was a terrific movie. And I love vampire movies anyway. I've seen every vampire movie. It had really original things, you know, in the way of vampire movies. That party at the end where the vampires invite a friend. I never saw that before. But there was some point in the party where somebody did something or
Julia, they gave her.
and everybody sort of bites their guest. It was one of those things I read somewhere that there's this connection between what makes people laugh and what makes them afraid, that it's almost the same thing. That when people laugh, that there's something about being afraid connected to it. That when we smile, that what we're doing is showing our teeth. You know, it's like animals, when human beings smile, that there's some connection to being scared. I thought that was, because that scene is hilarious and it's scary. I mean, it's like the two things are the same. And then, you know, my character was very interesting. Julian Schnabel let us use his house, remember? All that's torn down, you know, he built something else in its place. Yeah. So all those rooms, you know, with the big paintings.
Yeah, no,
It's all-
in that elevator, that fucking elevator.
It's all, you're right, that's gone.
You ride in that elevator.
Yeah, that was a very dangerous elevator. Remember?
Yeah.
Nothing to protect you. You had to make sure you wouldn't want to fall over on that one.
No, forget it.
No, that's a very good vampire movie.
You know, but
I get asked that though about a lot of different parts, and the truth is, I learn the lines. I don't really ever think about the psychology of anything. I think it's probably because I never studied to be an actor. I used to be a dancer, and when I started to get acting parts, you know, I learned the lines. I never think about, you know, what would it be like to be a vampire? You know, I have a theory about movies that if you're an actor in the movies, that if the script says that you're whatever it is, and if the people around you treat you that way, you kind of are whatever it is you say you are until something happens that throws that off. You know, that the audience will accept whatever you say you are. You know, if I say I'm a vampire or a billionaire or
no, I
that they
remember-
believe it as long as you don't get them off that track.
All right, bravo. I can't clap because
There we go.
there we go. Very nice, very nice. This crowd of thousands of people.
What else do we got, Abe?
So, no, I remember you had just gotten a piano. You remember you just gotten that grand piano?
Yes, right. Right. We were doing those sessions with Nicholas,
Yeah.
and he was up there doing a certain amount of songwriting, and Danny Tone was in there. Drove
Really?
a lot.
You, Nick, and Tone? What were you guys doing?
What about him?
You, St. John, and Danny?
Yeah.
What were you writing?
We did one song which I don't think ended up in the film called "Step Into the Light." We might have used some of the instrumental. We might have used some of the instrumental backing track on it.
Right.
But Nicky was definitely involved in songwriting, and he was around. You know, he was around for for a lot of the sessions upstate,
Wow.
for sure.
You have any of those tapes left?
Huh?
You have any of those tapes?
I think I do. I'd have to pull them out. You know, the formats have, long been obsoleted. You know, so we have to pull them out. But I should have all the masters from that session. It'd be
Wow.
interesting to pull this.
Where do you keep all this shit?
Got shelves. You know, they're on. I got everything is on the
over the
shelf.
house,
But
or-
I've got all the stuff from King of New York and Bad
When
Lieutenant.
was the last time you were in touch with Nicky?
With who?
Nicky.
Wow, that's a good question. I saw him, it would have been maybe a couple of years after Jake was born, so that would have been 2000, something like that.
And no one's seen Nicky.
2000, 2001.
Where'd you see him?
Went upstate and visited and had a nice dinner with Nicky and his wife.
Wow.
It's a beautiful daughter, but it's been years and years. I haven't.
What my memory of that.
Right, the Yamaha, the white Yamaha Grand. I think that's what we did it on.
And you still got it?
Yeah, it sounds great. We went with a minimalist kind of feel on this thing, where we just played the melody on that piano, right, and just added a ton of reverb. But it was something like.
Yeah, that's right, with the great Philip Seymour Hoffman.
How well did you know him?
I knew him very well. I got to be friends with him. And he really was a great actor.
Terrific. I worked with him on Montana. Terrific actor.
Oh man, he could have been doing it for the next 50 years. It's interesting, to die that way, because I would go to dinner with him, and he didn't drink. You wouldn't have him. He'd eat his dinner, and he didn't want any wine. And I had no idea that he was doing that. It's really tragic.
I knew that for me, knowing that I was an alcoholic and continuing to drink for who I am was killing me, was killing my soul. I could not tolerate it.
Did you need it to act, or did you?
No, I didn't, no. No, and I remember all my favorite actresses like Geraldine Page, or I would always want to know if they were an alcoholic, because I was very ashamed of it. It was not a badge of honor for me. It was something that, and if I would find out that, well, I was comforted because I heard Geraldine Page was an alcoholic. So then I was like, phew, she's an alcoholic too, because I just thought I was going the way of, chip nail polish, bar stool, sad woman, 50 years old kind of thing, And I wasn't happy about that. And that's not what happened. I got very young, it happened, and it's not how I wanted it to happen at all. I was hoping to go a little longer.
But you had experience with heroin or not?
Me, no. No, that was something that was my yet. That was one of those things I just said, do not do it.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
Right. Right. That's right.
No, I said that for 44 years.
And that's what
First
happened.
time,
That's right.
you say,
And that's exactly what I sensed. What happened to you? All bets were off. When you did it, that was it. Goodbye.
Yeah, because it's the physical longing that's the vampire story also. It's the physicality. Like they say, you chase the coke, but the heroin chases you. So it's it's a whole different ballgame. Because it's a physical deal. And yeah, I mean, it's a crazy parallel there. But what else?
Do you see the film as uplifting?
Sure. I mean, I see anything that goes into struggle, into wrestling with stuff. I see that as uplifting because it's helping me, it's talking to me about things that I'm going through as a human being. And I'd rather talk about that stuff and get into that stuff than not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, here, let me have this camera. So
what do you-
let me
how
ask
do you
you,
feel?
Carol, let me ask you a question. But the thing is, how could, I mean, is this rolling? Okay. I mean, how could it not be uplifting? I mean, it's about resurrection, through,
all right,
through
there-
the word of Christ.
I
mean,
understand that, but what?
But
Oh,
you're,
okay,
what's
when
your,
you
that's
become
your
a,
position, right? I mean, where are you at?
Where am
in
I at?
religious-wise? Yeah, in terms of Jesus and
well,
the
you know,
church.
mine is a very complicated process. I think. I think that God has manifested Himself to different cultures in different ways. So and I think that Jesus would be abhorrent, would find it abhorrent that people even called themselves Christians. The message of the message of Christ is so far removed from the original whatever. So how do we know what the Buddha said? I mean, Buddha's stuff wasn't even recorded for 400 years until after his death. However, the message of the philosophy of Buddhism is certainly much more closer, I think, than the message of compassion. The message of compassion, which is great in the movie too. But the problem with the what happens to victims? What happens to Catherine Irby? What happens when you turn into a predator? What happens when you bring that Annabella's curse to somebody else? Where are you? I mean, and metaphorically, I can see where that is. I mean, look, those of us that are in recovery, we've done so much scar tissue during our active period that how do you make amends? And that's the character is risen, but the character never makes amends to the people that she has passed her addiction along to. So if you want to look at it that way, how is it uplifting? Because there are still victims out there that are continuing the addiction. It's like if I turn you on to a heroin habit, and then I get recovered, if I get clean, I'm still, I could be responsible for your death. That's a heavy thing to make amends to.
The thing about the film, though, is, again, it's very specific, and Nikki has a very specific belief, but I feel that it's inclusive in that it doesn't I'm still allowed to have my own beliefs and watch the movie,
right.
Which makes it universal, even though it is so specific. I don't have to believe in Jesus to get something out of the movie. There's a universality to it, I think.
Right. Yeah, well, you just gave a good counterpoint to it.
Well, there is always a resurrection, and then that's what it's all about.
Hold on a second.
If you're wrestling,
Take two on the resurrection.
there is the metaphorical of resurrection. So maybe you're not a believer in the body coming back. But however, when you're in recovery, you're recovering from that particular. The old self has to die to become the new self. Exactly. That makes sense at all. Exactly. It is. So maybe if you look at the addiction in terms of addiction to total addiction to something, and of course the idea of having to chase down another human being. I've been watching, besides reading the Don Winslow book, Power of the Dog, and I've been watching Narcos and El Chapo and stuff, and I get this feeling of guilt. We propagated that stuff. That was us. The end users were not punished, and all those people that died, they died because Americans were spending billions of dollars, obscene billions of dollars on addictive substances.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit scary. How do you make amends on that?
Yeah.
It's taken from a Bach piece called, in German it's called Komm süßer Tag, which means, I mean, it's a melody. The actual piano arrangement is something like. Like that, right? And the English translation is "Come Sweet Death," and I think that's where we kind of thought that not only musically, but that concept somehow went very well with the concept of the film, right? Come Sweet Death. There's a
Junkie vampire concept.
The stuff that comes first, Bella and Christopher Lee and all that. But the idea in the addiction, it's that, but it's different. It's, the vampires are up in the daytime. That makes sense. The fact that it was in black and white added to that they really are vampires, and the guy standing next to you might be a vampire, and what is it? My character says, "I've been doing it so long, I can do human things. I eat.
Sanford Meisner, that great acting teacher, had said that he thought that people really didn't learn how to act till after about 20 years, and I'm finding there's something about that. That I'm finding it's like wisdom, It's just neat being around for so long that things start to you've experienced so much that you don't have to go down certain roads because you've done it. So it's here. It's just deeper, and it's here. And so the acting, I feel it's almost, it's as opposed to like if the feeling's coming up, and instead of it going clank, 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 and then it gets there, instead it's just kind of like, and it's fulfilling. It's like satisfying or fulfilling or something.
It's the first time. How the fuck do you remember all the fucking lines, man? I mean,
Yeah. It's hard, and it gets harder. Iago is the longest part in Shakespeare. It's longer than Hamlet.
yeah.
I had a tape recorder. I put it all on, and when I would play it, it was 40 minutes, I think 40 plus minutes of nonstop talking. And yeah, you're right.
You played in your sleep.
But the scary thing is to walk on stage and hope you remember. Because there's no guarantee.
And there's no prompt that people aren't.
There's no.
It's not like high school where they go,
You walk out and you think, oh, I hope I remember.
And what happens when you don't?
then it's
you been in
really,
that spot?
it's
Have
very
you ever been in that
scary.
spot?
Absolutely, totally scary.
And you can always touch that. You can always.
No,
Bring
I mean,
that.
it still is painful and there's struggles and all that, but it's sort of like, well, you know, I mean, what are you, how old are you?
Too old. No,
Come on.
66.
Okay, so, you know, I mean, there's stuff that when we've been around, there's just some neat stuff that starts to happen. You know, you just know some stuff. You just know some stuff. And it's, you know, you become more of just an expert at life because you've just got more experience. And the acting is sort of like, the feelings like are just, it's like Philippe Petit on the trapeze. It's just like on the not the trapeze, the tightrope. It's like shit starts to just flow in a way because you know. And it's pretty neat.
Has anybody ever made a movie? You know, always it's the script and then you get the actors. Has anybody ever gotten a bunch of actors who were, you know, sitting around and said, okay, we got 3 men, 4 women, you know, 2 old guys, 2 young guys. Write a movie for that.
You know, I want to start off doing like we have a thing and we shoot a scene, and then, you know, the editors are cutting it and we're looking at the stuff, and then we we go to another scenes depending on the scenes we shot and that. But you know, any producer, even the rock and roll producers I got, like I tell them that they're like, you mean there's gonna be no script? You know, there's gonna be no script. I talked to a couple of my actor friends, they're not. You'd be game for that. You know, like we have a premise.
Yep.
And then we start shooting it. And then based on the scenes we shot, the stuff that works, the editor is working, we're shooting, we're all doing it together. Chris, we gotta try it, man. We all put up some, but we say, I want to take the other thing, I want to pay for myself. I want, my big concept, you know, like the Jackie Gleason deal is, we do all that, we put up the money, sell it, we have the one hit that we never have, and now we, you know, and that's the payoff. And there's your retirement fund, you know. But there's nothing to stop us.
So, yeah, think about it.
Yeah, I am. That's why, you know, it was so important to make it up here. We had the blizzard of that. What else was there?
When do you fly back?
I got to be at the airport at 3 o'clock.
Today?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, what else? Come on, I mean, what else? You got anything on your mind?
I'd like to sing a song for you.
Are you still doing the trapeze?
Not as, I haven't been doing it as much in the past year, but yeah. I mean, I fly still for sure.
You still fly down
Yeah.
in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I fly wherever I can.
Oh, yeah, right. So, wait, tell us more about that. What's your circus background?
Oh yeah, I mean, I fly. I discovered a rig in upstate about 7 years ago or so, and I got the bug. So I just love flying. It's a great trapeze is a great metaphor. I mean, there's a lot of shit to work out up there, you know. And it's like it's 8 seconds, and yet it's from taking off to being caught is 8 seconds, and yet the amount of stuff that you can learn in those 8 seconds. First of all, consciousness. Like, I didn't know from when I took off to being caught, and when the catcher said, "What did you see?" Nothing. I have no idea what happened from when I took off to now. I don't know what the hell. All I know is I'm here right now, and then. Now you could say, did you see that red pole as you were flying? Yeah, I saw the red pole. So the consciousness that started to happen through the years of flying, now in those 8 seconds, whereas before they were unconscious, and now I have consciousness while I'm flying through the air, an awareness and an ability to adjust, and it's really cool. Wow. It's really cool.
You teaching the baby?
Huh?
You teaching your daughter?
Yeah, she flies.
And do you fly with a net or without a net?
Oh God, honey, a belt and a net. No, because I'm not stupid.
No, I got it.
No, because you could break your neck. It's also getting older, knowing about limitations. You know, I don't do something like, I know I'm not 20, so I don't try to do something
You're
that
not
you would do as a
indestructible.
20-year-old body.
You're not indestructible anymore. We used to say when I was parachuting, you know, if your parachute doesn't open, you get the rest of your life to learn how to fly.
All right.
What's that song? Dear Mom, I'm writing you from Cape Renata.
Hello, mother. Hello, father.
Oh yeah, hello mother. Hello mother. Hello father. Here I am at Camp Renata.
Alan Sherman.